This is the Washington Monument, of course. Now, I'm going to show you something here that's going to blow your mind. That is the $1 bill that I've superimposed over the Washington Monument. But here's what's fascinating. It's perfectly centered on the monument. Now I'm going to back this dollar bill out, and I want you to look at the entire dollar bill against the backdrop of Washington, D.C. And you can see how it fits exactly also over what they are calling the ellipse. Let's turn it on, turn it off. Now, here's the amazing thing. When you zoom in to the other one, which on this dollar bill, there are only two ones that are different. The one in this corner and the one in this corner. The bottom two ones are pretty much the same. They're smaller, a few anomalies, but not really. When you zoom into this other one, now remember, this dollar bill has not been adjusted for any kind of ratio alignment. It's the exact ratios of the dollar bill that I just copied online. This one is at the front door of the National Treasury building. The Department of Treasury. Now let's spin this back out and take another look at this thing. So we've got secret alignments here going on with our dollar bill right in Washington, D.C. As far as I know, none of us have been told about this. We live in a free country where there's supposed to be transparency, no pun intended, and yet these things are hidden in plain sight. Now this is the White House here. It gets spookier. Now, you could surmise that, maybe one of these ovals dropped off here and fell in this location, which is the World War II Memorial. Okay? I've seen this with the owl imagery in Washington, D.C. It's almost like they shake off the elements of what they're showing us. They never show us exactly, but like this, with this ratio, could be spun around, and it fits exactly in here with the size that this dollar bill is. And let's look around and see if there's any other ovals around here that could account for this last one. Remember, we've accounted for all the other three, but this is what I want you to focus on now. So I saw this alignment. Okay, now this alignment here, these ones lining up, point back to the Capitol building. Okay, there's the Capitol reflecting pool. This alignment, as we've pointed out on previous videos, from the Washington Monument to the Capitol building is 88 degrees. Okay, 88 is not in our heads, you guys. It is real. And I think I just found the other oval for the dollar bill, which is, it looks like right here, which is the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, which is also shaped like an oval. So there's our other oval, not far from the dollar bill. So we've got one here and we got one here. There you go. Now, when we line this up, I was looking at this element right here on the dollar bill, and I'm like, this is a peculiar framing of the number one here. So I follow the yellow brick road, right? I'm going. Here's some more ovals. Gosh, they love their Vesica Pisces, don't they? And I go, wow, that kind of looks like the area surrounding the Capitol building. So I put another dollar bill on top of that one. And this is what I found. A perfect overlay. I want you to look at this point. This point. I want you to look at the roads branching off as I click this on and off. And you will see that what we're looking at is another alignment. Now, some people might say, well, who cares? Who cares that the dollar bill is reflected on Washington, D.C.? It makes sense. This is America, right? No, doesn't make sense. Because I got news for you. If you want to live in the country with a bunch of secrets in it, like it were in some big national treasure movie, that's up to you. Here's another alignment that I thought was fascinating. We get the ones aligned up a little better. And we look here, and we get the actual top of this emblem pointing right into the front of the Capitol building. Watch this. right on that little, whatever that ball thing is. But look at the alignment here. This is simply unbelievable. Now, the interesting thing about this alignment is that when you zoom this out, President Washington is perfectly framed within these two streets here, pointing directly to him. But that was pretty amazing. Look at this. And it's called Mount Vernon Square is behind here. And there he is. There's Washington. Now, you can look at this alignment yourself just by going into Google Earth and doing an overlay with the image of a dollar bill. So you ask yourself, why? Why would they go through the trouble? Why would they do all this? How were they able to achieve the level of sophistication necessary to embed all of these things in plain sight, coordinate them, synchronize them? And the answer becomes self-evident, as many other truths do. The Bible tells us why, you guys. Because Satan wants to be like the Most High. The Bible tells us he wants to be like God. What we are showing here is a deep, dark secret in our country that has been hiding in plain sight. The dollar bill overlaid onto the White House, showing us clearly the eagle above our Capitol building as we zoom in here. I want you to look at the talons of the eagle, and I want you to see how that lines up with the shrubbery and the lines in the Capitol building gardens. I want you to look at these elements here and how they all line up, and the eyes of the eagle line up here. I want you to look at the wings of the eagle and how those line up. Now we're going to switch over to the pyramid. And here the truth reveals itself. Unbelievable. Now that we have these perfectly aligned, we'll look at some of the elements beneath it to see if they too correspond with the image overlaid. And looking at all the different government buildings surrounding the pyramid, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. We have addiction prevention and recovery, General Services Administration, environment. We have DC government, Department of Human Services, mental health, pathways to housing. So they build their pyramid on your pain. Order out of chaos. And this circle is filled with chaos. 13 steps of the pyramid. The all-seeing eye. The Luciferian false light. All being revealed here. They build this country on your backs, off of your pain, your sweat, and your blood. And now we go to the top of the pyramid. The all-seeing eye. This is the all-seeing eye atop the pyramid. Pan back out here. This is unbelievable. Perfect overlay of the dollar bill on Washington, D.C. for the past however many hundred years. And what we see at the eye of the pyramid is Wendy's. This is a Wendy's restaurant here. Now I'm going to turn this overlay on a couple times so you can see this. It lines up directly with this pyramid, and on the other side of the dollar bill it lines up with the eagle, which overlays the Capitol building. So I'm looking at this alcohol, tobacco, and firearms building, and I see this eye here, which of course is corresponding to the all-seeing eye here. So I did a little research on the ATF, and what I found was stunning. The ATF started under the IRS, and it wasn't until recently, till after 9/11, that it came under the Department of Justice. This is the headquarters building we're just looking at on the map. And the ATF was implemented during Prohibition to control and tax alcohol. Of course, they've controlled and taxed tobacco. Do you see where I'm heading with this? Next, they're going to control and tax your ammunition. Now, Bush was very clever, and after 9/11, he removed the ATF from the Department of Treasury and placed it under the Department of Justice. But all throughout history until 2002, the ATF fell under the IRS. Why? Because that is how they control you, through taxes. And that is how they will make it almost impossible for citizens to have weapons and defend themselves, because the ammunition will be so expensive. It will be a direct means of control. Well, these people seem to have a preoccupation with explosives. Now think about that for a minute. Think about the billions of dollars spent on this program. And the amount of dangerous explosives that we've had throughout the history since the turn of the century when this was established. And think about how little of an impact that has had. Now, we had identified the Star of David. It didn't start out evil, but guess what? Satan wants to be like the Most High. So in our reality, yeah, it's evil. The Star of David has a much deeper meaning. It is the devil who has counterfeited it and turned it into something horrible in this reality, you see. But all will be revealed by God in the appropriate time. So I'm looking at Truxton Circle, and I'm like, why is this called Truxton Circle? So I went down that rabbit hole. I did some research, and Truxton Circle was actually named after a circle that has now since been demolished in the year 1947. This is Truxton Circle here. So I overlaid the former Truxton Circle, as you can see here, onto the space where the Truxton Circle was. And I found something else amazing. Look at where Truxton Circle falls on the dollar bill. Right at this fold on the dollar bill next to the pyramid. Now this is amazing, because look at the street layout as I toggle this back and forth. As the homes are lined up here, repeating the pattern of the end of this ribbon-like structure. Now, I want you to look this way. And when we come over here to this part, we see the same thing repeated in this building here. The end of the ribbon. I mean, this is fascinating. It's as if there's some person controlling all this. And we know who this is. We already know. I don't have to tell you who's controlling all of this. Now, this is a construction firm. Maybe they know. Maybe they're the people that help build these things and plan these things. But this is very creepy. I get attacked for calling out the churches on their 501c3 status. And I get attacked for calling it what it is, Babylon the Great. Now, every time you see one of these little... This is a church symbol. I'm going to zoom in. These are church symbols. Each one of these is a church. Now I want you to look at all the churches underneath the pyramid. Look at this. Simply unbelievable. All of the churches in Washington, D.C., I'm not going to say every single last one of them, but under this dollar bill, they fall under the pyramid. Do you think that's an accident? That is not an accident, you guys. Look over here. In this sector, there are no churches in this sector underneath the eagle. You see this? I'm not making this up. There are no churches under this sector. It's all of these government buildings with an M on it, okay? Museums. But then you come over here, past the Mount Vernon. And all these churches fall under the pyramid. Let's zoom in. Look at this. It is loaded with churches. All under your New World Order pyramid. Of course, the people in the churches are not evil. Got some churches up here too. But many of these churches are falling under this pyramid. People in the churches are not evil. It's the deception. Okay? It's the institution. Just like there are good Catholics. Just like there are good people who love people, who give in their life. This isn't about what denomination you're in. It's about who you are and do you know Christ. Let's click back on this overlay too, because I wanted to show you guys Mount Vernon. We showed how this other dollar bill overlaid. I want you to see the outline of this circle in the middle of your screen. The buildings form a giant circle. And look at this. There's Mr. Washington hovering above the giant circle. And here on the right, you have the U.S. House of Representatives. On the left part of the shield, you have the U.S. Senate. Back to the Capitol. Now you see the owl in this image. There's the owl, the eagle. The eagle is the owl. Molech, mentioned in the Bible. Do not sacrifice your children to Molech in the fire. And there it is, hiding in plain sight. You can see it on the dollar bill, but it is made clear when you overlay it over the Capitol building. And there are your houses. House divided cannot stand. Republicans and Democrats. Built on sinking sand. The sand of the hourglass. The figure 8. The infinity symbol. The snake eating its tail. Do not build your beliefs on this house. You must build your beliefs on the rock. Jesus Christ. The truth is clear. Let's flip this around and see what other secrets that we can uncover here. Let's go over here. As far as I can tell, many of these government buildings surround this circle. All the representatives seem to be falling within this circle. Senate Committee, U.S. Senate, and they almost border the circle around the eagle/owl. We also notice that there's a Southwest Federal Center point of interest here on this number 1. Capitol Hill center of interest on this number 1. And the same pattern continues on the opposite side of the dollar bill with Eckington and Bloomingdale near these ones. Truxton Circle at the bottom of this circle.